I have covered a fair few games already coming this year, as 2026 is really going to be an absolutely fantastic year for video games overall. If you remember, I did actually cover some larger single player games which are coming a few months back, but today I actually wanted to highlight 20 of the best single player games which are coming to our Xbox consoles in the first half of 2026. Do make sure to also keep an eye out for that Xbox Game Pass icon as always, so you know which one of these are coming to the service, but with that, let's just dive right into it. First up, the depths are stirring, and Cthulhu the Cosmic Abyss is officially closer to its launch date, and I cannot wait. Nacon have now locked in a release date of the 16th of April, turning what was once a very vague window into something very real and very unsettling. This one is a Lovecraftian thriller, and you step into the role of Noah, an occult investigator working for Ansile, sent to uncover some secrets that are buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. What follows is of course a descent into madness, where puzzle solving and stealth blend with encounters against cultists and corrupted souls. The latest trailer and information we got about a month ago now really showcased some enormous underwater facilities, disturbing imagery of course, and brief but chilling glimpses of Cthulhu himself. Everything about this one just screams oppressive atmosphere, and if this is any indication, then 2026 is really shaping up to be a fantastic year for all of you horror fans. After years of waiting, one of the most requested RPGs is finally making its way to Xbox, and it's a pretty big deal. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is officially launching onto Xbox consoles this month, bringing the full remake experience to a whole new audience. This isn't going to be a stripped down version either, it will be the complete Integrate experience, meaning upgraded visuals, performance improvements, and all of the content that made this remake so celebrated elsewhere. While we are still waiting to see Xbox specific gameplay or even performance breakdowns for the full release, early indications from the demo suggest it does run pretty beautifully across both the series consoles. In the meantime, it is already live for wishlisting on the Xbox Store, and I cannot wait to finally get my hands on it. Code Vein 2 is coming across really as a continuation that actually knows where it wants to go, and there's a lot more hype behind this one compared to the original release, and it's actually getting quite interesting. The first game teased a fascinating world and then left plenty unexplained, but this sequel seems determined to dig into that mystery, and it's fantastic for all of us fans. You're once again now going to be dropped into a broken, unforgiving landscape, but the combat now looks a little bit more thoughtful, built around draining blood to power abilities and control the pace of fights, and honestly, if they improved on the original, that would be great, as the original system really wasn't that strong within the entire department. Customization though looks deeper than ever, and it does seem to have a robust character creator and progression system that lets you constantly rework your Revenant rather than locking you into one singular build. Code Vein 2 is honestly quietly shaping up to be one of the strongest RPG launches of 2026, and I just have to say, please don't sleep on this franchise. A new Viking epic has also locked in its release date pretty recently, and it's one that all of us strategy fans should keep our eye on. Norse Overblood is officially launching on the 3rd of February, and it's being published by Tripwire. The game essentially drops players into a Dark Age Norway on a revenge-driven journey as Gunnar, a young warrior that is fighting to reclaim his father's legacy. As you can see on screen, combat is fully turn-based and tactical, while progression revolves around building settlements, recruiting your allies, and shaping your clan's future. A new developer diary, which went live recently, actually delved more into the motion capture, its historical grounding, and also the storytelling, which is led by writer Giles Christian. If you're curious, there is a Steam demo which is available on the store right now, and it already feels like a very strong early 2026 contender for a brilliant strategy game. If you cast your mind back to December, and although it feels like a little while ago now, Romeo is a Dead Man was revealed alongside a genuinely surprising move, as Grasshopper Manufacturer is self-publishing this game. That's going to be pretty noticeable in its own though, but even more so considering the studio is actually owned by NetEase Games, a partnership that's always felt a little bit at odds with Grasshopper's sort of punk rock identity. Despite that though, nothing about the game itself feels restrained. From hands-on impressions, it looks like peak Suda, hyper-violent, wildly offbeat, and just unapologetically strange. The gameplay, as you can see, sits between No More Heroes and Shadows of the Damned, mixing katana combat with gunplay as Romeo Stargazer once again hunts space-time criminals across multiple universes. The big question now though is whether that confidence carries the experience all the way through when it finally launches this February. After a very long stretch of silence, Disciples Domination is slowly bringing back the series into its focus. This entry is going to be set 15 years after Liberation and feels more like a measured step forward rather than a drastic reboot. The battles will still play out though in that sort of turn-based fashion, but the flow has been tightened with grid-based combat, smarter positioning, and also what looks to be a heavier focus on faction identity and unit synergy. Outside of combat though, Navandar really opens up in real time, encouraging you to explore it, find some different hidden threats, and also explore the environmental storytelling. Players will also be able to command squads across 5 distinct factions, including the long-awaited return of the Mountain Clans. Rather than chasing trends, the devs are really focusing on refining what already worked in the original, and for fans of darker, more methodical RPGs, is a promising brand new direction. Reanimal is coming to us from the same team behind Little Nightmares 1 and 2, and that is a mighty experience for this brand new horror IP. This one though feels like they're pushing their signature horror even further, as the tension in this one is going to be way heavier, the environments are more disturbing, and the creatures, from what I've played so far in demo and from both of the trailers, are genuinely unsettling. You will play as a brother and sister though, searching for their missing friends while trying to escape a nightmarish island tied to their past. It is also looking to support solo play as well as online and local co-op, which is a really great touch. The big news on this release though is that it will be arriving on the 13th of Feb, so just in time for Valentine's Day, and I highly recommend you play the demo as soon as possible. If Tarzia really sticks the landing based on what I've played so far, this could be one of the most terrifying games they've ever made. Next up is a PC Game Pass exclusive that strategy fans should absolutely be paying attention to. Menace is a turn-based tactical RPG that will put you in charge of an elite military task force who are responding to a growing alien invasion. In this one, you'll be able to manage your infantry squads, roll out different tanks, and also deploy some massive hulking mechs in carefully sort of planned turn-based encounters. There's a very strong sense of strategic pressure both on and off the battlefield, and the overall vibe feels like kind of like XCOM but blended with that command and conquer element with regards to the RTS mechanics. For now, it is locked to PC Game Pass at its launch date, but I really wouldn't be surprised if a console version shows up later, but hopefully sometime in 2026. Planet of Lana 2 is indeed coming, and is an indie that I'm just so happy to see since the original is such a gem on Xbox. This newest entry though will reunite us with Lana of course, but also with her fabled companion, but will chuck us into a brand new adventure that pulls us deeper below the surface than we've ever seen. Puzzle solving will still be sort of at the heart of this experience though, and is all going to be built around these sort of clever physics interactions, but the sequel isn't going to be afraid to ramp up things with more demanding action, and also new movement options like wall jumps and run slides. Visually though, it's going to be stayed true to that sort of soft, painterly style which we already love and made the original just so memorable, and that consistency is a really big win if I'm honest. If the gameplay depth matches the emotional weight, it's easily going to be a very big win for this development team. I've seen it consistently from you guys across the channel, and honestly, stealth games have really taken a backseat in recent years. However, Styx Blades of Greed is proving there's still plenty of life within the genre. Early previews on this one do suggest that this is a confident return for the sharp-tongued Goblin Thief, delivering exactly what all of us fans have been missing, so slow, deliberate sneaking through sprawling, danger-filled environments laced with some dark humour. It is actually set after Shards of Darkness, and the story is very welcoming to newcomers it seems, whilst also quietly rewarding all of us long-time players with familiar threads. It is going to be built on Unreal Engine 5, and the scale has been pushed dramatically. I'm still a little bit iffy on the whole Unreal Engine 5 game. I don't know, there's still many games out there with loads of performance issues and little gameplay quirks here and there, especially with moving to that brand new engine. If the final game matches what we've seen so far though from the trailers and different previews, stealth fans are in for a real treat in 2026. Japanese horror is having a serious resurgence on Xbox as of these days, and Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly is a huge part of that. Koei Tecmo officially confirmed that the fan favourite entry in the Fatal Frame series, known as Project Zero, is getting a full remake and is arriving onto Xbox in early 2026. It isn't going to be a light remaster either, as the developers are actually calling it a complete rebuild, touching on everything from visuals to sound design to controls and even the core gameplay systems. Whilst we don't have an exact fixed release date as of yet, the window isn't far off at all of course, and with titles like Silent Hill F recently releasing and Resident Evil Requiem also on the way, it genuinely feels like Xbox players are about to be spoiled with some high quality Japanese horror in the near future. One of the most exciting reveals overall from Capcom in 2025 was for Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection, and alongside the first two games which only recently released on Xbox, it's officially confirmed to be launching day one. This one though marks the return of the beloved spin-off series and does follow on from Wings of Ruin of course, and it's been a long 4-year wait for all of you fans. This time though, you will step into the role of Azuria's heir, the last Rathalos rider, and you'll be setting out to uncover the truth behind a mysterious crystal encroachment threatening the world. worlds. The art style of course looks very vibrant as with any of the Monster Hunter Stories series, and the tone feels way more mature though, and that premise already has so many of us buzzing. What makes this even better of course is that the first two games are already on Xbox, meaning the entire trilogy will be playable from start to finish. For RPG fans, that's a huge win, and I highly recommend you play the first two games if you can before this one releases sometime this year. I have mentioned Crimson Desert quite a few times now, but I just cannot understate how massive this game is going to be for 2026. What actually began as a side project which was tied to Black Desert Online is now grown into a massive single player RPG with its own identity and ambitions. The combat in this one is looking like a major highlight as well alongside that gorgeous world, but I'm still a little perplexed as to how a mech suit really integrates into the story that looks to be set within a medieval setting. Of course, with mountain dragons, mechs and more, the scale of this one has to be staggering, and it does include the likes of huge landscapes, dynamic weather, and a world that genuinely feels alive. If it delivers on all fronts, and from what we've been shown so far, Crimson Desert could easily be one of the defining RPGs of the past decade. I didn't expect nostalgia to really hit this hard, but here we are. Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition is officially on its way in March of 2026, and it feels like Koei Tecmo is deliberately aiming straight at longtime fans. Instead of reinventing the wheel like we saw with Dynasty Warriors Origins, this release will double down on why the series worked in the first place, so stuff like overwhelming odds, absurd kill counts, and larger-than-life officers tearing through armies. The remaster will run on Unreal Engine 5, and you already know how I feel about that, yet it still keeps the classic pacing and structure intact, including the true Musu attacks, split-screen co-op, and officer growth. Even the stuff like Extreme Legends content is going to be folded into this one, meaning it's going to expand the roster and the scenarios, and it's going to be a fantastic package for all of us Dynasty Warriors fans this year. This next one really caught my attention because it feels like a proper throwback in the best way possible. Dreamer is Milestone going all in on high energy arcade racing, and it hits Xbox on the 26th of March. Instead of chasing realism like the other games like Ride or even the MotoGP series, this one is all about speed, attitude and risk. Races will take place in a futuristic league where rival teams aren't afraid to play dirty, and every decision matters thanks to the ecosystem, which is essentially a single meter you use for boosting, defending or straight up attacking other races. The tracks also look pretty fantastic, jumping from neon city streets to dangerous mountain routes with changing weather conditions and time of day. Add in that anime style story cutscenes and a heavy soundtrack, and yeah, this feels like arcade racing done right yet again. I do also have high hopes as Milestone also made the Hot Wheels Unleashed games, and those ones are some fantastic arcade races. You already probably know by now, but a brand new Super Meat Boy 3D really wasn't on the top of my bingo card for 2025, and the fact this one is going fully 3D makes it even wilder. This time though, the series is being completely handled by a brand new developer, but thankfully the soul of Super Meat Boy looks completely intact. You will be still guiding that poor cube of meat through punishing levels filled with saw blades, instant death traps, and pixel perfect jumps, all in a mission to save Bandage Girl. The big difference of course though is going to be the perspective, as everything now plays out in 3 dimensions, which could either be absolutely genius or utter chaos. From what we've seen so far though, it's fast, brutal, and unmistakably Meat Boy, and previews are very positive once again. Again, I am really curious to see how this feels when it does land in early 2026. Replaced was shown off a few years back now, but after many delays, we are finally getting our hands on this incredible indie this March. This one is a story-first 2.5D experience where you play as Reach, an AI inhabiting a human body or trying to survive a harsh cyberpunk future. What really sells it for me though is its presentation, and it immediately caught my eye when it was shown off a couple years back now. The beautiful pixel art, fluid animations and a moody synth soundtrack sets the tone perfectly. I just hope they really give this one a good story. I always get a little bit apprehensive when games look this great, as the story can sometimes be a little bit average, but we can finally find out if it's any good in the next couple of months. It also finally happened towards the end of 2025, as Resident Evil Requiem is definitely real, and yes, Leon Kennedy is officially back. After years of rumours, Capcom confirmed at the Game Awards that a more seasoned, battle-worn Leon will also star within this next chapter, and that alone sent hype through the roof, especially for many fans. This one though is going to be set roughly 30 years after the destruction of Raccoon City, and the game will lean heavily into that sort of hard survival horror element rather than pure action. The story will also centre on Grace Ashcroft, who is the daughter of Alyssa from Resident Evil Outbreak, as she investigates the place tied to her mother's death. With a darker tone, unsettling villains, and Capcom promising something even scarier than RE7, Requiem is definitely shaping up to be one of the biggest horror releases of the past decade. I've talked about Mouse P.I For Hire before here on the channel, but every new detail of this one just makes the wait even harder. This is one of those games that grabs you instantly on its presentation alone, but again, I just hope they really nail the good gameplay, as I've seen some games fall flat even though they look this good. Even so, that hand-drawn vintage cartoon look paired with a sort of jazzy, smoky soundtrack gives it a personality you really don't see often within shooters these days. Beyond the visuals, what really has my attention as well is the promise of deeper level design alongside all unlockable movement abilities and Metroidvania style exploration layered into the FPS gameplay. Sadly, this one did slip to a March release date, but honestly, if that extra time helps polish this gem, then I'm just happy to wait for it. I just hope it plays like Doom and gives us another decent single player experience. We have been receiving some very frequent and fresh news on High on Life 2 over the past couple of months thanks to IGN, and from what I've seen, it's really shaping up to be an incredible sequel. Having a deeper dive, it's going to be set 5 years after the original game, and you're no longer an underdog, and instead you're a galaxy famous bounty hunter. That gets changed fast though when a bounty gets placed on your sister, known as Lizzie, turning you into a target. Armed with a mix of returning and brand new talking weapons, this sequel looks bigger, louder, and just way more unhinged, and the comedy is going to be front and center as per usual. Considering the first game really did shatter Game Pass records, this could easily repeat history, and it will be arriving in early February and day one on Xbox Game Pass. I do also have a couple of games that I'm going to mention today because they also look fantastic, and the first is a new roguelike set in a bleak universe called Darklight Survivor. This standalone spin-off places you amongst humanity's last survivors, travelling a fractured multiverse in search of a mythical refuge known as Elysium. You'll be playing as a dark hunter, hopping between universes, and the combat looks to mix roguelike progression with flexible camera perspectives. It looks great and a real progression from the first game, which was a Metroidvania sort of 2.5D experience, so this one is a real step up. Then, after flying under the radar over on PC, Lost Skies is also finally preparing to make its landing on the consoles in Q1 of 2026. The game drops all of us into a world made entirely of floating islands, where exploration and cooperation are really key. You'll be doing stuff like crafting gear, building and customizing your own skyships, and then traveling between islands while fighting massive enemies that roam the skies. One standout feature is going to be the island creator, which also lets you design and share your own custom locations. The core gameplay is actually meant to be pretty solid from what people have been playing on PC, but there are definitely some bugs present, so hopefully it's all ironed out before they release it in early 2026 for our Xbox consoles. What single player game are you looking forward to so far in 2026? You'll have to let me know down below, and do make sure to subscribe for more Xbox content like this on a daily basis. A big shout out as well to our channel members for your continued support lately, and if you want to join for exclusive emotes, a member Discord channel, videos early, and so much more, make sure to hit that join button down below. Whilst here though, do make sure to check out the video on screen now, as I did cover the 30 best day one games coming to Xbox Game Pass in 2026.